All right, so here's the process video for the Friendship is Magic style of the ponies that I've been doing. This is just my pony, Wiggleby, that I did for my friend's one-shot, Tales of Equestria. Um, so first I looked at the show, I watched the show, I pulled a lot of reference to get a feel for how they do the characters, how they make the anatomy, like how they simplify things. Um, it's very sort of cel shaded, a little simplistic, because it's all made in Flash, and so that all the animation has to be fairly simple so they can move the characters around through the environment. So I wanted to do a mix of their style, so it was enough like their style to read properly, and then also have my style with how I like to do anatomy and line art and that sort of thing. So this is that process. So first I sketched out Wiggleby with the soft Photoshop brush and then dimmed the layer to 50%, which is old hat if you've watched a lot of my videos. Uh, and then I started to come in with the ink layers. Um, the inks here are with the letterer brush because it's an auto smoothing. And I wanted to have sort of that similar style that you can get from like animating in Flash and drawing in Flash or Illustrator, but I still wanted to have some kind of variance of line width. So that's what I'm doing here with the line art. I like to start with black line art, even though later I'm going to go back and recolor it, just because it's just easier for me to visualize it as I'm drawing it. All right, so for the color layer, I make a new layer and I fill the selection after inverting the selection of the line art. And this is just lets me work unencumbered. I can just turn on the transparency and I don't have to worry about things. So once I decided on a color, it's a sort of nice like pastel sherwoody color. I went back to the line art, preserved transparency, and recolored all the line art in this darker shade of orange. I initially recolored everything in the dark shade of orange because they hadn't gotten all the final colors in, and it just helps to visualize it better. But you'll see that later I go back and I will redo some of the colors on the line art. I always leave the eye black because that's how the show does it. The line art on the eye is always black. I'm not sure why. I think it just helps bring your eye to their eyes since it's children's animation. Um, so yeah, that's the basic premise that's happening with the recoloring of the line art. So to soften the shadows and the highlights, I come back through with the soft Photoshop brush. I'm using the regular soft Photoshop brush, which is just a little bit more opaque than the other ones. The wet one, which is really a blender, and the soft one, which is kind of a mix of in between. And I'm just using the color in between the darkest shade and the body color, or the lightest shade in the body color, to blend, just to soften these highlights a little bit so they're not quite so harsh. And I'm just going through each of these and just adding a little bit more dimension, a little bit more shadow. I'm saying about the same color family. There's like oranges and yellows, but sometimes I pick a little bit from the yellow, like a little more greener yellow or a warmer orange, that kind of thing, just to give it a little bit more dimension.